Welcome back to the channel. Jubilee video. Um, One radical versus 20 black conservatives. I don't know why they named it this way. I don't know anything about Amanda Seales. Calling her a radical is already puts a bad taste in my mouth. But I mean, I saw the first kind of trailer clip and he says black culture is toxic. So we'll see how this plays out. So let's do it. Hey man, I defended Jubilee when it came down to the Mediason one, but I'm not beholden to Jubilee, so we'll see how this plays out. This is a little strange having a radical be the one to tell the facts. I guess I don't. I'm gonna let my opinions determine. I'm gonna let
by
this
20 black conservatives. My first claim is it is undeniable that reparations are just and necessary.
Oh, she's one of these. She's one of these. Oh, okay. Okay. So one of my arguments when it came down to the Mediason one is that Mediason exposed radical ideology to the people. And it was a situation where he was able to kind of showcase why these things are flawed because he's so educated, smart, and he knows what he's talking about. This is kind of a reverse scenario where I'm a little different. I feel a little bit different about it because now you're the qualified individual that's going to be debating these people is the radical. And I can't guarantee all the conservatives will have the capacity to argue against the points being made. So different from the other version, this could potentially proliferate certain ideologies. So we will see. We'll see how this plays out. When it comes down to it, also, I'm not conservative, as you guys know. I cooked Donald Trump way too much to be called a conservative. But black reparations are just and necessary. Reparation, as of right now, I don't believe in. I think if you're going to do reparations, it definitely would have made more sense to do them after the slavery period for obvious reasons. But now, no, I don't agree with reparations now.
All right, reparations, fair, necessary. My question would be, who's going to get it? Why would they get it? And how long are we going to sit here focusing on trying to get reparations? It's been how many years since slavery? 150 years, 1865? Whenever there's a real thing that this country wants to do, they do it. Stop Asian hate. Okay, there's a problem with the Asian hate. Let's draft a bill, sign it, and it's done. Anything that needs to be done is done. With us, it's a carrot they dangle in front of us that they don't really want to do. And it's not going to help. We need education. Oh, it's not going to help. No, it's not. We need education. Getting a check from the government is not going to do that. And we need proper education. A lot of us go to these institutions where we're not really prepared, we're not really focused, and we don't get things that help us in the real world. So if you want to help black people, a check from the government, from our tax dollars is going to get raised because, let's be clear, everybody in here is black. We all American, we all got to pay taxes. It'll go to that. So I don't really see how this is going to help us at all.
Okay. Well, first I'll start with it will help on even just a moral level. The reality is that the United States has become very
I'm always the moral level. I personally have always hated when people believe in the idea that their the moral spectrum is undeniable truth to how everybody lives their life and equates to moral circumstance. Basically, what I mean is that I think there are undeniable situations in society where you could say that, all right, this is morally good and bad, right? For example, the R word to a person, to a kid, that's objectively bad. And then something good would be something as simple as like, saying I love you to your mother or something like that, or giving your hug to your family, or something something just genuine, good. You're just helping someone cross the street, something like that. In a situation like this, most circumstances have a level of gray and nuance. So to add some uh, moral qualification to an action to ensure that your position holds a higher value just does not work, right? It's no different to when like Christians do that, where they apply that anything that you're not doing in behest of God is bad. It just doesn't work. It's not a meaningful way to convince people of your side. So I just, that's not the best way to start your
comfortable with the
argument.
fact that it does not consider Black people equal. And it shows that in many ways that I'm sure we will discuss over the course of today. But ultimately, there has not been a committed, concerted effort to shifting the mindset around the use of Black people as a labor force in this nation back when it was slavery, now in the use of slavery as slave labor in prisons. So on a basic cultural level, reparations are an act of repair. They are an effort to say, our bad, we see you now. We have seen that done with Japanese folks who were put in internment camps. We have seen that done with Jewish folks. We have seen that done even in the case of slave owners who received reparations. When it comes to the use of tax dollars to pay reparations, and this is going to come up a lot today, it's a matter of values, right? For me, my value system circulates around the fact that I think that as a community, we should all be engaged in repair for our community. So I don't think there should be any problem with there being tax dollars spent at repairing consistent efforts that have been made to impede Black people. So the reparations you're talking about are not just related.
I just want to be very clear on this too. When you say repair the community, you're trying to repair a certain community. That's why I made my initial claim that if this happened right directly after slavery, I would be here for it. But right now, especially in our current political climate, we've seen that every time the government tries to implement things to help Black people, it gets co-opted by the majority, and then it gets pushed back heavily. This is just another example that would, like, if we can't even get DEI and affirmative action to the point we use that to help Black people and people of color and people with disabilities, the ability to, get a job and build generational wealth for their family and for their people down the line. If we can't even do that, how the hell do you expect to do reparations? Like, there's just no logic in terms of understanding how current society is, and just, you got to accept that most people just don't like these ideas and don't agree with these ideas. Even a lot of Black people don't agree with these ideas. There are meaningful ways to build the Black community. And instead of giving people money, they need to pour more money in building these communities. The infrastructure, the homes, the education, the resources, building it so these communities don't have to rely on like certain negative aspects to build something of their life. They can go through a system and build a community of, flourishment, because of the structure around them. And there's not a lot of structure in some of these places so that is a problem. But the whole idea that they just need to give these people money, I will never get along with that. If she can articulate what exact reparations she's referring to, I might be along for the ride.
Related to slavery. There's reparations that have been discussed all over this nation in different communities as it relates to particular massacres, as it relates to redlining and the impediment of Black people to earn wealth by having property. There's been impediments in various ways that can be repaired. And I want to also just add, there's reparations that are considered a cash payment from a government. There's also the version of reparations that shows up in how funds are applicated to specific groups of people. So there's multiple ways in which what you're stating cannot happen could very well happen.
Well, giving money to individuals and giving money to groups, I mean, that's
okay. Now, as far as the money
thing.
going towards certain things is going to help us, let's look at Baltimore public schools. They get, I think, the third most money per pupil in the US of A, like $15,000 per student, but yet the majority of the population that comes from that environment can't read. They're illiterate. So we're dumping money on the situation, yes, but yet we're not getting the results we should get from it. Money's not going to help the thing. We need to just focus on what we need to focus on. As far as Black people being labor force of this country, what else are we doing?
Let me see this. Baltimore City spends blah blah nation's 100 largest districts. Despite the spending, only 60% of eighth graders read or read above the national standard. Only 30% of fourth graders. A lot of money. So I've heard this a lot, and I might go over it a little bit more specifically in the future when it comes down to we put money into certain places, but their results are not equating to the amount of money being poured in. There's examples of that, and then there's examples of money being poured into places, and which is why democratic cities and democratic locations are better in terms of public education. That's just not an opinion. That's just a fact. You can look it up. I do think, however, it is meaningful usage of sources that needs to be talked about. And I do think that is a big problem when sources not being applied as well. But there does need to be a combination of fixing the culture at the home, because, like, all right, we say that, for example, we pour money into this institution, but the home building is not allowing for a structure for them to care about their education. Whatever they learn in school can only do so much. So there definitely needs to be different ways to look at it. It has to be public education, and you need help there, but also build the community better at the home as well.
They're illiterate. So we're dumping money on the situation, yes, but yet we're not getting the results we should get from it. Money's not going to help the thing. We need to just focus on what we need to focus on. As far as Black people being labor force of this country, what else are we doing? We got 25% of us on some kind of government assistance. 1 out of every 3 Black men will go to jail. We got to do something. We got to work with our hands, work with tools, do something, because we're not doing much of anything. And also, one more piece here. Reparations, again, always anchored in front of us, never going to happen. As long as you've been living, as long as I've been living, as long as everybody been living, they say we need it, and it never gets done. One more piece.
You just said one more piece, then you're adding another one.
So, I promise.
So hold on to it. No, hold on to it.
I'm gonna land the plane. I'm gonna land the plane. I promise. Reparations is a thing.
She's right about that. You can't say one more piece and then keep talking, buddy. Oh boy, that doesn't make any sense. She's right about that, 100%. Come on now. Come on, dog. Come on, my man.
It's a carrot that dangle in front of us. They're never really going to get it done. And if it was going to get done, it would have already been done. It's just something that they're using to try and make us stay Democrat. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, Democrats are not.
Oh, here we go. Democrats suck. All right, here we go. Democrats suck. Republicans suck. Democrats are just as bad. So, okay. I mean, I already knew when they said black radical, it's going to be one of those people who on the left that hates the left, or on the left that hates Democrats. You know, the people helping Republicans win elections, those type of people. Oh my gosh, here we go.
Doing reparations either. This is nonpartisan. This is black partisan, baby. Okay.
Well,
this is nonpartisan.
Who do we vote for? Who do we vote for 90% of the time? There's no incentive.
To be quite honest, you're not talking to a Democrat. You're talking to a radical.
Okay, but who do we?
Oh, she calls herself a radical, so that's why Jubilee used that as a title. So what's the point in believing in something that can never be implemented, right? He's right about this being a waste of a talking point. Now, if you're using this as a means to bridge a gap, maybe, but even then, like, majority of people just don't agree with this sentiment. So who are you trying to convince with this? If you're trying to have people kind of join your coalition of this, you're just creating more and more people to go along with something that's not practical and reasonable. Majority of people in Congress, any president, none of them are going to agree with the sentiment. So even if there was a chance that this could help the black community, nobody's going to agree with it in America. It's just a waste of a talking point at this point.
Let's land this plane very quickly.
Who do we vote for?
Let's land this plane quickly.
Who do we
You're
vote
talking
for?
to a radical, not a Democrat.
Okay, and you are your own person.
Let me tell you something now.
For?
I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how we're going to get clicks, stop it now.
Oh, no.
That's not how we're going to. That's not how we're going to interview.
We having a debate.
A debate does not
you gotta let her talk.
Continuously cutting somebody off.
Okay, no problem.
She's right.
Now, I do want to state this. You're stating things as it relates to how money is not fixing a problem, without acknowledging the fact that the problem doesn't exist in a vacuum. and that there are so many other factors that are determining how that money is getting spent to impede it from actually fixing a problem. You can put all the money into Baltimore public schools you want, but if you are also putting all this money into policing, into communities that are not getting resources, then you are also creating your own conundrum. The other part of this is that when you're saying they, you know, the they is a broad context. And the last part of this that I will say.
So there's parts of that I agree with. This is going to, this for sure is going to be one of those videos where more than likely I'm going to agree and disagree with both sides consistently. So this might be a better conversation than I expected, because you have to pour money into policing, but you have to make sure that the policing is also adapting proper acknowledgement of different perspectives on how to handle the Black community. I've heard this conversation before when it comes to policing, is that they get a little bit black-pilled in terms of dealing with people in these communities, because they're the same people patrolling time and time again. You have to have some type of like a rotation system as an example, as a means to really be able to treat these people as people instead of treating these people as a look or a stereotype. So that's one thing, but you can't take resources away from these places because police are needed to keep things safe, right? That's one thing. And the other thing is, I agree with the community resources, though. She's right. You can pour money in public education, but you have to pour money into the resources for the community. So, like, there's a middle ground here. If she would advocate, we need to pour money in specific areas for the Black community to help them flourish better, I would just say the poor community, just to be very, very direct. So you can appeal to white people too. Like, I get appealing to Black people, which I'm glad she's there for. My thing is, I would go like, all right, let's expand this. Let's appeal to the poor community so it helps white people, Asian people, Black people included. And instead of reparations, let's advocate for pouring more money into these impoverished areas in terms of the community resources, public education, for example, right? That's why a lot of these poor communities struggle so much and have so much bad education, bad resources, high crime. If we could do that, then we can reach a common ground that will appeal to the majority of Americans. I guarantee that. So that's where I would bridge the gap for what she's talking about.
Is that you keep saying they're dangling this in our face. They're dangling in this our face. Slavery lasted for 400 years. It hasn't even been 400 years since slavery. So should we be only fighting for a quarter of the time to get repair?
All right. I'm so sorry. You've been voted out by the majority.
All right.
Please return to your seat.
Okay.
The cooktop is cooked.
I get the argument. I don't think people realize how long slavery is, to be fair. So.
My name is Matt Nuclear.
Hello, Matt. Matt
Sure.
Nuclear?
Matt Nuclear, yes.
Matt Nuclear, give me a better handshake on that. Let's
Matt-
do it.
I
All right.
appreciate having this conversation
Matt
with
Nuclear.
a beautiful Black woman like yourself. This is nice, beautiful arena here. I disagree that reparations are necessary. I think the most important thing that's necessary right now for the Black community would be the stopping of violence, especially Black on Black violence. I don't see how reparations is going to solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000 check, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%. For example, we had the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest.
Congress passed banning Chinese came to America to send money back to their families, and they were willing to work for lower wages than Americans.
Median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that Black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure.
Oh man, there's bits and pieces that I think are valuable to what he said, and then there's other bits and pieces where it's like, but the white people are the oppressors. It's like, I mean, I don't think. You have to recognize that white people were the oppressors. You have to recognize there's still stereotypes in society, but also recognize that Black people have a culture problem, which is something that I care about deeply.
Sure where your education came from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though.
Statistics lie all the time. So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different.
This is kind of like this is what the thing with radicals. They pick and choose the data that they care about. It's the same issue with MAGA, man. Like, okay, let me hear her out though.
Way. So if you're gonna start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie. They lie all the time. One,
stats don't lie. Well, numbers don't lie, but stats can be applied incorrectly. These conversations are so like people have such black and white opinions about things.
Comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. What no one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you really believe
I'm telling
this?
the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories using.
Oh man, he's deep into the black conservative pill. Again, there's nuance. I don't think the government. I've said this before. When it comes down to it, systemic racism 100% existed, and we're dealing with the impact of systemic racism. Now, when it comes to the current MAGA administration, I think I'm not gonna. I have to put them on the side. Before the current MAGA administration, let's say we're still in the Joe Biden administration, I don't think there's an intentional top-down means to ostracize black people. Now, I do think there was individual systems that have preconceived prejudices and stereotypes where there is racism inputted. Like there are certain police departments in certain parts of America where they were systematically racist, where they perceive black people as criminals or lower than. There are certain like locales of banks where you try to get something and they perceive this black person based off stereotypes as lower than. Like systematically, because the system can be any size, you can find this in different areas, but all the way top, all the way down, I don't think that existed before the MAGA administration, basically. Now, with that said, that's why I said individual systems, you can find that. Individual stereotypes and racism, you can find that. So it's also ignorant to say that. And then he used the means of saying we're racism against white people, which I do think exists, but you can't deny circumstances of black people oppression and then say there's white people oppression. Like you're choosing your nuance there. And that's a little shaky. That's very
black only
unfortunate.
Dormitories
right
because black people feel safer amongst each other, but they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that
So I remember, oh man, I'm going to be pausing a lot. Sorry. I remember the situation where there was a white girl who went into this space that was for like black people and she blew up and she was yelling at her. That was disgusting behavior by the black girl for sure. But then also another thing that you got to recognize is that these spaces have a value because it's a minute experience, shared experience that cannot be equated to other groups. Now, I think these locales, these locations to proliferate black voices, like back when I was in college, there was this organization called BACO, something like that, where we would talk about the black experience at a liberal arts school that I went to in Iowa. And I think it was valuable to showcase the growing sentiment of the black voices and showcase people, showcase experiences for different people to understand. The valuable thing about that was that white people and other people of color could also come there as well. So they understand the experiences, they understand the voices, they understand the culture. So that was valuable. So throwing people aside and saying they don't belong here, that doesn't help bring us together. That's the point, right? Bringing us together. So that's what I value. And then however, there are spaces in like certain colleges and schools that I guarantee that exist that are primarily white that will treat black people some type of way too. So you got to understand that just because a black person goes viral of being racist against a white person doesn't mean that the other way doesn't happen too. So there's so much different types of communities, and the majority of America is white. So there's more opportunity for them to do it than others. Like, we got to really understand that this exists everywhere, and there's value of like sharing these experiences, but discriminating against one to be a part of the experience will always be a problem, regardless if you're black or you're white. So
The white man is the oppressor, when black men are more likely to kill me.
Oh my
Tell me.
God, this is scary. You need to think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion. So let's check that now. Okay. So on a basic level, we have to understand that systemic racism is
you're not
grounded
my
in the
mom,
realities
so
that black people have not been considered an equal human being.
I'll be honest. To be fair, this kid looks young, so I don't know. But I'll be honest. I mean, I don't think she would say that to me because I'm pretty respectful when I talk to people. But you're not my mom, so that's just not how it works. That's just not how it works at all
In this country since its onset. So there's simply no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism. And we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off. When we talk about systemic racism, we can start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to discriminate black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying I don't think it really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist.
See, man, this video is gonna be, oh man, oh wow, there's gonna be me agreeing and disagreeing a lot from both sides. You don't think redlining exists, my boy? This is my problem with the overcorrection of black conservatives, dog. And it's as simple as this. Yes, I do think the certain sentiment in terms of like this over glorification for the black community and not recognizing the problems with black culture is an issue. But black conservatives have overcorrected and says things like this, where it's like redlining didn't exist. Do you think Jim Crow laws existed? Do you think the KKK existed? Hey, bro, let me show you this movie called Mudbound, where black people who came back from fighting in World War II came back with the KKK still being racist as fuck to them when they were fighting for the fucking country. Like, it's just like black conservatives over here, black lefty radicals over here. There's like a whole gray area where all this nuance is that people are just missing. Jesus.
And stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact. And there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve. When we talk about systemic racism, we have to acknowledge that these private prisons are literally built based on the test scores of school students in third grade. So if you are literally
I don't know about this correlation. So I'm gonna read this. I don't know if that one can be proven. While there's a direct correlation between literacy and education levels and incarceration rates, the claim that prisoner planners use that data to decide where to build has been debunked. Yeah, when she said that, I didn't like. That's probably not true. that just seems like a wild claim. Even though so there is a correlation in terms of like the data may match the data here, but there's no causation and direct link to the two. Sometimes that could happen where just like these circumstances just lead to a result based off like I don't want to explain all that. I just don't. Ultimately, that's a crazy conclusion to make. I'm not gonna lie, but shout out. I thought she was gonna bring up how there's a incentive for private prisons to profit off of growing their incarceration rates. I thought she was going to bring up that, and I probably would agree depending on what she said, but
building prisons with the onset of, okay, if these people are not reaching a certain reading level, then we know that they're going to go down a prison industrial pipeline, or we can use their free labor. Then how is that not systemic? And if you want to
stop them from entering prisons,
how are you going to stop people from entering prisons if your goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
So how does King Von happen? How does King Von happen?
King Von
reparations. Actually, no, let me land the plane. Yeah. We're talking about reparations, and what you're doing is actually just trying to get this conversation off the facts. And the fact is, reparations are just and necessary because on a base.
So, I already cooked this kid for saying redlining doesn't exist. That was a fucking stupid thing to say. I think is there a potential systematic thing? Yeah. I mean, you can argue there's a systematic thing for every crime that ever existed, sure, but there also needs to be individual responsibility and accountability, and there is a wanton proliferation of this type of behavior in our culture. I mean, you can't just dismiss King Von's behavior.
Basic level, Black people built this country, and the country continues to thrive off of the labor that Black people put into this country. And it would behoove you, young man, to really understand the way that your ancestors put blood, sweat, and tears into this nation that is still living off of those blood, sweat, and tears.
He looks young. She doesn't look that old. I would guess she's like 30. Nah, guessing a woman's age is crazy. Let me shut the fuck up. Let me shut the fuck up.
There are reparations and then there is remunerations. Do you know the difference?
Yes, but can I finish one point that I wanted to say? Ben Carson's cousins were killed at a very young age.
I'm so sorry. You've been voted out by the majority. Okay. Please return to your seat.
I hope some of y'all are acting. I really do. We in LA, and I hope some people in here are acting.
People just don't agree. Would you be
happy if you stayed where you are in life and job forever? If the answer is yes.
Sometimes you got to step outside your bubble to realize that a lot of people don't agree with these sentiments that you keep on spouting. Like, I feel like I interact with so many different people that I understand sometimes that when I have an unpopular opinion, because I tend to have an unpopular opinion constantly, but you have to understand why people don't agree with you too. It is frustrating. I understand her frustration though.
Oh, what's that on your chain?
This is a coin from Israel.
Lord have mercy.
Yes, you gotta go.
That's.
Why did she say that? Why did she say that? Why did she say that? Why did she say Lord have mercy? Because he supports Israel. Like, bro, I'm on no side for this video. Oh man, that told me so much unintentionally.
It's a choice that you are making for yourself.
Yes. The thing with the whole reparations thing, and I don't know, we're probably close to the same age, so maybe you can't call me.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
I am 44.
Oh, really? Oh, you look young.
Hey, I was about to say 34, so you got to give me some credit. I thought she was way younger than I expected. So I agree, she does look young. I thought she was way younger than that. Shout out. She does look good.
Thank you. That's what water and keeping stress out of your life will do.
Really? Mm-hmm. Liberal positions are real stressful.
By the way, I wouldn't know. I'm not a liberal. Carry on.
Well, it's the liberal position because conservatives believe in hard work. We believe in going to work.
See, this is another thing that, this is why if you're a liberal, I don't see why you try to the entire liberal and Democrats have been co-opted by far left ideology. And this is not a shade to her, but these people do not even consider them on the same side as Democrats and liberals. But the entirety of the right think that all liberals and Democrats are the people on the far left, but even though they don't even claim liberals and Democrats, it's just such a toxic political environment to be in when you're center left. And I mean, I think you guys, you have to regain your identity. You have to really look at yourself and go we do not associate with this side. They don't associate with us. They just made it very clear they don't. We don't associate with them. And stop letting the right try to make that declaration. It's just insane to me how far left don't consider themselves liberals, but all of the people on the right think that liberals agree with the far
working
left.
for what you got,
Yep.
not asking for handouts
Right.
from people who never had slaves. Some of the people that you're asking for money from never had slaves. And let's talk about the fact there were also Black people that had slaves. So if you want to talk about that, how is that fair? If I'm a white person and my family fall on the side of the Union, why should I have to pay for slaves when this whole country was never all racist? Some of the founding fathers were abolitionists, and they hated slavery, and they actually put things in the Declaration of Independence and things too, because they believed that there'll be a future where there would be a Black president one day,
I hate
or there
that guy.
would be people in leadership that were Black. There was people in the North who helped.
I'm going to allow her to answer the question about Black people who own slaves. I'm very curious to see what she says in response to that. And then we'll move on to the next one.
With the Underground Railroad and fought with the Union. So why is that fair for people who never had slaves, who fought against slavery, to have to pay for people that...
Bro, I was about to kick a field goal to win the game. I forgot to call timeout, and the clock ran out, and now I'm in overtime. Kill me! Oh, fuck, dog. Jesus.
That had slaves.
One, from my understanding, you are more interested in preserving the fairness of those who didn't have slaves than the fairness of those who are the descendants of slaves. That is priority to you than finding a fair way to accommodate those who have been the descendant of slaves.
Well, our ancestors wasn't asking for handouts. They were asking for equal opportunity. And we have equal opportunity in this country. We had a Black president, just in case you didn't know. We had a Black president, and we had a Black vice president. I mean, I think she was Black. They said she was Black. I don't know. So we had
okay. Oh man. Oh man.
Had a Black president, and you know who voted for that Black man? White people, because you can't win a popular election in this country without white people. So Barack Obama is the product of white people. So let's get off this thing where, oh, America is so racist. What's making America so racist is people that continue to talk about racism and continue to focus on racism instead of focusing on unity and bringing our country forward. People that have this liberal mindset are infecting our communities, Black people, and making us victims. And
stop calling it liberal. Liberals don't believe in this. It's people on the far left. See, it's so annoying, bro. It's so annoying.
Victors. I refuse to embrace a victim mentality, because that's not what our grandparents and Harriet Tubman and those people fought for. They fought for equal opportunity. Do not bring up
Harriet Tubman's name in vain, baby. Please.
Harriet Tubman. Name in vain. Lord's name.
Harriet Tubman was literally saving her family and others from slavery.
Yeah.
Is she texting someone behind your back?
She didn't respond to the aspect of Black people having slaves.
Helped her white people.
You know who helped her?
They were on the Underground Railroad.
No. You know who helped her?
Come on in.
No, you know who helped her?
God and
people who benefit from white supremacy. One of the things
it's a lie. White supremacy is a lie.
No, sir, that's simply not true. If that were not the case, then we wouldn't see the continued effort of colonialism and white people placing themselves in positions of power.
You know why they're in position?
It's like there's a middle ground. Does she have help with does she have the help of white people? Yes. And the Black radical denied that. And then, is there white supremacy that existed in that time? Yes. And the Black person and the conservative denied it. Oh, kill me. This conversation, bro. Oh my goodness. All right, bro. Oh, this is, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, I feel like there's just bad information being said on both sides. This might be the one Jubilee video where it's like, I find it, now personally, I'm finding this interesting because I understand nuance and I understand enough to dissect both of the things that are being said from both sides. So this video, from my point of view, is like, there is so much I can do in breaking this down. When it comes down to it, that's going to create two things for my channel and my viewers. They're going to go like, oh yeah, he knows what he's talking about. He's nuanced or whatever. Or they're going to like, oh, that I don't know how you would call me liberal or conservative in this conversation. I'm cooking both sides. So this is like as both sides I've ever been in a conversation, because when it comes to the far left and the right, it's just like, oh, Jesus.
Power because their culture, Black culture is toxic. The Black culture is toxic. We have produced a culture that is toxic.
Parts of Black culture is toxic. I don't feel like we need to make this a totality statement. There is good parts of Black culture that we should. Okay, all right, let's move on. Let's go to the next one.
Criminality. Black males
it's
who grew up
that
without a
guy.
father are 10 times more likely to engage in criminal activity. And so I think
Can I put a pin right there and ask you a question?
Ask me whatever you like.
What is the root cause of there being less fathers present?
Bad decision making on the part of the fathers. We live in a patriarchal system. Like it or not, men have dominated the socioeconomic, economic, and political power of this country and the world since our existence. So our bad decision making, especially when we focus on the Black community, is the root cause of fatherlessness.
What type of decisions?
Not marrying the women we decide to lay down and have children with. Not being careful with the seeds that we plant in women. No woman can get pregnant without a man planting his seed inside of her. So therefore,
it's marriage.
Well, that's a part of it. That's marriage is a part of it.
Okay.
But the true piece that I'm looking at is connectedness between familial units. The Black community was at its economically strongest while being at its poorest during the segregation era. Prior to 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King in his last speech said that we have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of Canada and more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. That was when we were economically at our poorest. Yet 85% of our Black children were growing up with a father in the home. There was less Black on Black crime. There was less disenfranchisement.
Why was there less Black on Black crime?
Because we needed to live together. We had to stick by each other. We had to.
What was there also less of?
I'm not sure where you're leading. That's a leading question. I don't like
you don't like this?
I don't like leading questions. No. I like direct stuff.
So essentially, when we were living in our own communities, we were also policing our own communities. So we were not being used as statistics in the same way to determine how resources were provided to our own communities. When we were going to the government saying, hey, we deserve because we are supposed to be separate but equal, we weren't saying, hey, we want to be with y'all. We were essentially saying, we want what you are stating we deserve. And that is what all of the efforts of the civil rights movement has been. It's literally just been to say, you said when we got out of the Civil War that we would be considered citizens and all citizens should be getting equal access to these things. However, you are actively allowing the Klan to harm us. You are actively allowing.
Who's killed more Black people, the Klan or us?
I would like to continue my statement. I let you speak uninterrupted. When we talk about this concept of who is harming us, we are really making a false claim when it comes to Black on Black crime, as if there isn't white on white crime. There's also this unnecessary
into criminality. Black males who grew up.
I disagree with that, but I understand that's your stance.
There's a very generic concept of what liberalism is, in the sense that it's simply saying that I'm a part of the Bible says is.
Thank you for.
Surrounded now a podcast of time.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope.
Bro, I'm about to lose this game because of this video.
Black on Black crime is a result of underinvestment and over policing.
Black on Black crime is a product of underinvestment and over policing. Don't agree with the over policing aspect. Do agree with the underinvestment aspect, but I don't think that's a pure governmental thing that you can attribute. Oh my God, I lost the fucking game. I should have won. Oh my God, I lost because of see, you guys are seeing me crash out over a Madden game right in front of you. How do these motherfuckers keep on getting my fucking name? So, underinvestment over policing. Underinvestment is probably, like, this is my intuition talking. It needs to be both government investing, and I would be curious to see that data. I could probably do my own research on that at some point in my life. But there also needs to be individual efforts of like private individual investment. I was trying to think of a good term for that, which means like wealthy Black people should be investing in their communities as well. Wealthy Black groups should be investing into their communities as well. So it needs to be a combination of both factors. So I'm there with you. Over policing, disagree with that, but it's nuanced. There can be over policing, but also the policing is sometimes necessary because of the crime that's going on. It's just the policing can create a little cycle where there is like preconceived stereotypes that leads to negative interactions because of the circumstance, which means that it's not the over policing, but it's the improper policing in some areas that probably needs to be checked. But also the good policing never gets glorified too. So there definitely needs to be a good balance. So again, kind of like a reparations, like part of that could be good, not all of what she's saying. Part of what she's saying here could be good, not all of what she's saying. Oops.
So you say that black on black crime is due to underfunding and over-policing, essentially.
Yes.
I actually don't necessarily disagree with one of those. I think that, however, the government, who do you think should be responsible for the funding piece of the black community? Should that be something that the government should step into, or should that be something that we as black people need to handle ourselves? Dr. Jordan Peterson and even Thomas Sowell and several others have stated one thing, that poverty and crime, there's a positive correlation. There's also a positive correlation in the black community of absentee fatherism being one of the root causes leading into criminality. Black males who grew up without a father are 10 times more likely to engage in criminal activity. And so I think
Can I put a pin right there and ask you a question?
Research clearly shows there's a correlation between absent fathers and I like blah, blah, blah. Research have reached different conclusions on the exact percentage. Incarcerated parents are 5 to 6 times more likely.
Ask me whatever you like.
What is the root cause of there being less fathers present?
Bad decision making on the part of the fathers. We live in a patriarchal system. Like it or not, men have dominated the socioeconomic, economic, and political power of this country and the world since our existence. So our bad decision making, especially when we focus on the black community, is the root cause of fatherlessness.
What type of decisions?
Not marrying the women we decide to lay down and have children with. Not being careful with the seeds that we plant in women. No woman can get pregnant without a man planting his seed inside of her. So therefore,
so it's marriage.
Well,
that's
a
well.
part of it. That's marriage is a part of it.
Okay.
But the true piece that I'm looking at is connectedness between familial units. The black community was at its economically strongest while being at its poorest during the segregation era. Prior to 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King in his last speech said that we have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of Canada and more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. That was when we were economically at our poorest. Yet 85% of our black children were growing up with a father in the home. There was less black on black crime.
Essential progress in education attainment of African Americans have been accompanied by significant absolute improvements in wages, income, wealth, and health since 1968. We still make only 82 on every earned by white workers. African Americans are 2.5 times likely to be in poverty as white, and the median white family has almost 10 times as much wealth as the median black family.
There was less disenfranchisement.
Why was there less black on black crime?
Because we needed to live together. We had to stick by each other. We had to.
What was there also less of?
I'm not sure where you're leading. That's a leading question. I don't like.
You don't like this?
I don't like leading questions. No. I like direct stuff.
So essentially, when we were living in our own communities, we were also policing our own communities. So we were not being used as statistics in the same way to determine how resources were provided to our own communities. When we were going,
I want to verify that. I don't believe that makes any sense. Like, we're talking about the period of 1960s. I think Thomas Sowell talks about it too. I think he has similar conclusions made as the guy here. But it doesn't make sense for me to think of the idea that the government was allowing a section of America to police themselves. That just doesn't sound realistic to me. So I would need to look into that to be confident. That's a gap of knowledge that I'm not sure about.
to the government saying, hey, we deserve because we are supposed to be separate but equal. We weren't saying, hey, we want to be with y'all. We were essentially saying we want what you are stating we deserve. And that is what all of the efforts of the civil rights movement has been. It's literally just been to say, you said when we got out of the Civil War that we would be considered citizens and all citizens should be getting equal access to these things. However, you are actively allowing the Klan to harm us. You are actively allowing—
Who's killed more black people, the Klan or us?
I would like to continue my statement. I let you speak uninterrupted. When we talk about this concept of who is harming us, we are really making a false claim when it comes to black on black crime, as if there isn't white on white crime. There's also this unnecessary effort to try and pathologize black on black crime in a way that you don't try to pathologize white on white crime. There are white people killing each other every single day. Now, they may be on jet skis in the pictures after they shoot up their whole family, but nonetheless, there are white people killing each other every single day.
But we're not talking about white people. We're talking about black people. Why would a black person talk about white on white crime? It's not really a good rebuttal to that claim, really. And it's a weird try to put a glorification of like white on white crime. There's a lot of poor white people. Not everybody's rich enough to kill their entire family going jet skis. Like that was a little weird false equivalency, but we move.
Now, much of the reason why you may see more numbers in terms of black on black crime are for two reasons. One, the statistics be lying all the time. We have seen this.
Numbers, okay,
we have seen this in a real way. So in New Jersey, in New Jersey,
what numbers can be trusted? Because with the previous speaker,
I'm about to tell you right now.
Okay, so your sources.
You can't such number. No, I'm literally about to give you an example of numbers not being able to be trusted.
Okay, talk to me.
That's what I was doing.
I'm listening.
Okay, then listen.
Oh, the mic is on.
So listen, in New Jersey, they had a statistic that was created by the police department that said, look at how many black people are committing crimes. Look at how crazy this number is. These black people are so exorbitantly violent. Look at this. And then people went and actually matched the names that they were booking with the faces of the actual people incarcerated. And it was proven that they were lying.
So that's one. So that's one instance.
That's
Hold on,
one
no, you're talking to somebody that works as a police dispatcher when I'm not making content. So here's the thing.
I see.
No. You see what the truth is.
See, this is my issue because MAGA does the same thing. They nitpick a very specific statistic and go like, well, this situation, a very anecdotal situation, means that you can't trust the entire situation. And she's doing the exact same thing. And that's like, that's problematic. That's problematic. If you can't trust it, like, what can you trust at that point? Are you doing the data collecting yourself? There was a black professor who collected individual data himself, and he found results that pissed off a lot of black people. So it's like, I don't think any. I'm just gonna let it go for now. Let's move on.
Not to see the truth. If you just give me a second, like Trump said, just give me a second. I'm gonna do the weave, but give me a minute.
Well, here's what you all keep doing. You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm gonna make, and yet you want me to respect your point, and that's not how a debate works. So if you
She's right about that. You guys do keep interrupting her, and she does let you guys talk all the time.
Want me to keep getting louder, I will do it. But ultimately, if I show you respect, give me the respect back. I let you talk. I let you make your points. I am countering your points. And my points are just as valid as yours, even though you got a pocket square and a Church of Christ pin on your chest.
It's not a Church of Christ. It's
whatever. It's a cross. Same difference. You got an American flag and you think you know something because you a cop. And ultimately,
not a cop.
Ultimately, it's a cab all day over here. So let me make that clear. But
all cops are bad. Like, I'm unrepresented here. There is no representation. The only thing, this really just allows me to just nitpick both like arguments when they're really bad. Because I just don't know. I'm not on her side. I'm not on their side, basically.
But let me also add to my point. My point is that you can sit here and blame black people on black people all day long and not acknowledge that we are forced into. You're coming to interrupt me again.
I haven't even said a word.
All right, that is flagged, so I'm gonna ask you to return to your seat.
It's a waste of my time.
Triggered.
Y'all just want to be seen. I don't need to be seen.
She's getting triggered.
Hello. How are you? I'm Jasmine.
Let's have a kind conversation.
So this is my thing. I think the premise of your question was black on black crime. So I think I'm coming from a place, and I guess my issue is having had my biological father murdered by a black man, having had my cousin shot in the head by a black man. We can talk numbers and statistics and what the people are doing, what the white man is doing and all that. But at the end of the day, I see when my family lives on the south side of Chicago, and I think you and I both can attest to this. And I'm not saying that there are not other factors, but we know that we kill each other at a disproportionate rate than any other race. Now, why we do that and why 6,000 to 9,000 black men are going to be homicided or killed or whatever by the end of the year annually by other black men, whereas the likelihood of a black man being killed by a white police officer is less than 150 per year. We know that we kill each other at a higher rate. So I'm not debating that.
Police have killed an average since 2015, about 58% more than. Okay. I think that's what she said. So she looked this up. I feel like both statistics have value, so I don't feel something that people do when they're debating. I'm not saying anybody here is necessarily doing that. I'm not, but I will say this: when you're using a statistic to counter another statistic, that doesn't devalue the importance of the other statistic, because ultimately, how I try to talk to people is like, yes, we have to understand that this issue is an issue. Now, there's two things the way you can go about the issue. Is it a perceived issue that has no inherent value in terms of a minute statistic, something that's like 1% of the time, like how sometimes when people talk about like trans people, a lot of it's like 2%, 3%, less than 1% type statistics that are being brought up consistently. But once we're getting into the 20+%, 10+%, At that point, we should really kind of look at it, regardless if one has more value than the other. Is the black on black violence a problem? Yes. But is the cop on black stuff could be a problem as well? Yes. Like there's both can be a problem, especially when it comes down to circumstances that can be avoided. So
they're not factors at play,
That's
but because
important.
I've lived the experience as a black woman losing my father to be murdered by a black man, walking
I'm
down
sorry
the
to hear
street.
that,
being-
by the way.
No worries, thank you. But walking down the street in inner cities and different things, knowing that it's more likely that my own brother will rob and rape me than a white man or a white officer, we got to be real.
What's your proximity to white men in the south side of Chicago? Are there even white men around to rob and rape you at the same rate that there are black men?
There are white men around.
At the same rate.
There wasn't a lot of black people in there, but then that doesn't justify the fact that we're destroying each other. So even if we get
Nothing,
like
wait, we can agree on that.
okay,
sis.
because I feel like a lot
Nothing
of times liberals will argue
justifies.
like, well,
I'm not a
the white people
liberal.
are killing
I am not
people.
alive. I'm not a liberal.
Okay, well, I will say that people that sometimes have your stance that are against conservatives, maybe they have this claim.
Liberals don't have this stance. It's only like black radicals that have this stance. I don't know why they keep on trying to attribute this to liberals. Like, what liberal left of center people believe these claims of like all cops are bad? It's just like every time when the far left talks, it's like, oh yeah, that's all Democrats and all liberals just believe that as well.
They're making it up. They're making up the numbers. We know that we do that to each other. So I want to get to the root of the issue. Why are we
What is
killing
the
each
root of
other?
the issue?
I think the root of the issue is we've lost our values and we've lost our resilience as black people. We sit there and we talk about what the white man did and we talk about slavery and everything like that, but we have no self-accountability and say, you know what, at the end of the day, that is my black grandmother. That is my black sister. You are my black sister. And you know that a black man is more likely to rob you or commit some type of crime against you. And that's what we need to get down to the issue of. And like you were talking about earlier, like, hey, well, what's going on? You know, what do you think the answer is to one of the brothers that were speaking? I think it's the breakdown of the family. I think, like he said, because of our poor choices. And what happens is we look at domestic violence, for example. When domestic violence, women or men are even attacked, what is the first thing we say? Is like, you know what? It's not your what? It's not your fault. So that's what we do. We hold on to this narrative that, well, it's not our fault. And the issues in our community are not our fault. And the white man needs to give us something. The old white lady down the street is looking at me and I don't know why she got braids in her hair. And we focus on all these other stupid things that don't matter. We don't get to the root of the fact that we're killing each other at a higher rate than any other race. It is self-hatred amongst us. I believe that we can do that. That my mom's cousin, coming from the church parking lot, and guess who stuck her up and robbed her at gunpoint? A black man.
I need you to get to the point.
Like,
so
my
I can
point
respond.
is that, no, and I'm not trying to be funny. Unless, like you said, we're going to keep it respectful.
Yeah,
so
but you're monopolizing the whole conversation.
I'm
We're
not trying,
being
I'm
able
gonna let
to-
you speak, but let's not get the
Yes.
attitude and stuff because you're my sister and I respect you. So
I don't have an attitude. I'm being direct to you, but you're literally speaking this, and you're not going to do that with me.
Yeah. She has been talking a while, to be fair. To be fair to Amanda. She's been talking for a while. Tensions are high. Just get to the point.
Either.
Okay,
So
so
you're
I'm
stating your
respecting
point,
you.
and you've been stating your point for quite some
So
time.
say
you have a reason for me to respond.
Would you allow me to respond? So that's a better response. Go ahead.
The response that I have for you is
Okay.
that everything you're saying does not exist in a vacuum. I actually agree with you in that, yes, there has been an incredible denigration of Black worth and Black pride in this nation. I think it's also very important to acknowledge what has contributed to that. And to state that it is only Black people that have contributed to that is a false flag. So we have to admit that. So in order to have this conversation around how we got here, you can't say, oh, well, we're caring about the white woman getting braids and that doesn't matter and this thing. All of that attaches. All of that is actually a very big part of the lack of worth of Black people.
I'll ask you, do you think we're resilient? What does resilience mean to you? Do you think we have to be perpetual victims, or do you think that Black people
I think
are
that those
resilient?
are two different conversations. I think because I think that the concept of Black people being victims is really trying to not provide accountability to.
Like, she made a good point about it not being in a vacuum, and you can't just go out and say it's only the Black person's fault. My issue is that when she goes and turns around and says it's only the white person's fault, it just doesn't seem consistent. That's my issue.
Where the root problem for the actual cause is. And if we keep saying that somebody is a victim and that doesn't mean that the other person should have to actually have accountability, then what are we really doing? You can do both. You can be a victim and be resilient.
How do we do both if you stay in the victimhood? That's my question.
But your statement about Black people staying in the victim place is also your point of view.
But how do we rise above it?
We continue to rise above it by, one, pouring into our communities with mutual aid, but two, by simultaneously making sure that we are challenging the systems that are in place to impede us. We have so many opportunities where we are trying to do mutual aid, and those things get disrupted by folks who want to have capitalist gain, by folks who want privatization. We used to have all these mom and pop businesses in our communities.
There's
That
over
used to
3
serve-
million Black millionaires in America right now. You are an intelligent Black woman that is successful.
That's irrelevant.
No one's stopping me from doing anything. I'm an intelligent Black woman that
Many
graduated and is
efforts have tried to stop me from doing what I do. We are not all equal in our capabilities. And we are not all equal in our ability to be invested in by others.
I agree,
We
but
are
that's
not
my
all
question
equal
of
in our
resilient.
trauma.
Are we resilient?
We can't say because it is a false equivalency.
I believe
We
that every
keep
Black
trying
person
to-
has resilience.
We
from
keep
slavery
trying,
all the way up
but
to
we
us.
keep trying to cause.
I'm so sorry. You've been voted out.
I do think there's something to be said there, but I will also say this, I wanna think about what I'm thinking about more. I'll just let it go.
First, I want to kind of get rid of this like right left ordeal. I really want to talk about just like our own personal views and what we've experienced, what we've seen. And when it comes to your claim about black on black crime, I really do believe, and I think a lot of people here do believe, especially based off of personal experiences and everything, that it is just lack of accountability. In the Black community, we need to start taking responsibility for our actions and stop pointing our fingers at other people and the white man. Because to be honest,
why can't both happen at the same time? Both are causes.
Because you got to clean your own house before
Both
you
are
go complain.
why?
Because if
you're dirtying my house, if you keep pouring shit into my house and I'm cleaning it, why can't I do both? Why can't
I agree. You can do both. I hate the idea that, like, I think for the most part, when it comes down to it, when we look at Black people and go like, they got to fix it themselves. When you have a system that has gotten rid of DEI, so it makes it harder for Black people to be seen. When you're not going out of your way to fix the system of policing that has innate stereotypes that can bring the normal wanting to be successful Black person down. Like, if you're not fixing these systems that are not allowing the opportunity for Black people to get represented, then fixing yourself can only go so far because you're not the majority. That's the problem. Like, it should be a combination of both, which is where I very much agree with her sentiment. Oh my goodness, I got a spike. Oh my God, bro. I ran out of time again. Yo, I do this content for you, and I'd be losing in Madden because of it. Let's go to the next one.
For partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
My next claim is systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
I mean, that's just true. Systematic racism exists. Now, does it exist today? I think the scope of its existence today is questionable, but it 100% existed. It's 100% a reality.
John Samuel.
Hello, John Samuel. First name. All right.
Blame my parents.
Hi, parents.
I want to listen to you first. Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that way?
Oh, John went to debate training before he came here. Okay. Ultimately, I feel that way because it's simply just facts. It's in the books, and that's why there have been laws to challenge it. There have been innumerable instances where actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen numerous instances where there were things created for Black people to advance, and they were taken back under the auspices of, we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate it right now.
Can you give me an example of one of those systems that you believe perpetuates that cycle of racism? Redlining? Okay. Yes. And how does that, like, can you elaborate? Like, how is that affecting the Black community?
Do you know what redlining is?
I know a little bit. I'm not an expert.
Redlining was a system that was created to determine property values, and that said Black people can only live in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. And the redlining lowered the property values of those Black neighborhoods by stating that they were more savage, that they were more dangerous, etc. Thus, they were not able to own property that was on a level of par to their white counterparts. There were also many efforts at just simply not allowing Black people to get loans for property, putting them in predatory scenarios where they were being essentially unable to own land. And that inability to own land, but still having to pay out a mortgage, if you will, or a rent, continue to put Black people in a conundrum of not being able to excel at the same economic rate as their white counterparts.
What I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly, is it feels like in the United States that for a while we've kind of established these systems at their foundation, and they've continued on, and they've continually just oppressed Black people, and we haven't dismantled them, and we haven't done much so they continue to complete the cycle. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, in many of these systems, they have been dismantled maybe in name, but because this country has never dismantled the culture of racism, they end up still living in practice.
And that's the disconnect. On cultural racism, a little disconnect there.
So we see that, for instance, in the way that the appraisal system works. Now we saw there was an entire documentary on how appraisals have been also very racist, home appraisals, right? So your ability to sell your house for the value that it deserves. Right. There were a number of homes, particularly in Marin County, California, where Black people had one appraisal when they had their Blackness up. So they had their dashikis hanging, and they had their, they had their Black Good Times poster. But then when they removed all those items homes and put up white people and a dog in the house and then had their white friends come and pose as the owners of the home, the appraisal was significantly higher. And we have seen that in a number of instances.
So, okay, that's a little different. And her explanation, I think, does have value. There is just preconceived notions. There's two things to consider there. One, the perception that wealth is attached to like a certain type of individual, which is like the common average day white person for sure. So that imagery, it's kind of like marketing, is attached there. And we do have to improve the imagery of what a successful Black person looks like, right? And so I don't think that's a race thing. It's just a perception of wealth attached to culture, which is, you could say is a race thing. It's just a perception we have to get rid of. Like, it's the whole entire idea that I've talked about multiple times here is that when I speak very eloquently and I use big words and I sound smart, a lot of the times that was happening while I was growing up is that people would say I sound white. So there's like an attachment to a certain level of intelligence, wealth, all that is more normalized when it comes to the white people versus a Black person. So we just got to get rid of that stigma. And we also, the second part about that as well is that the majority of wealth is probably with white people. So you want to adhere to them more so when it comes to them buying a home. So that's also probably plays a factor. I don't think it's innately just, oh yeah, a stinky Black person just bought this fucking house, so that's why I don't want to buy it. I think it's like, oh, well, this culture, this house doesn't seem like it has that much value if a Black person has there, which honestly you could say is about the same thing. So we do have to get rid of that stigma for sure.
Now, of course, that is just Marion County, but there are a number of other scenarios where this has been relayed. And that's why there were certain efforts by the Democratic Party to say, okay, well, we're going to try and step in for this.
I actually remember that case, and I watched it with the family, and I thought that was just really just terrible. But the problem I guess I have with systemic racism is, I guess for somebody like me, where my family comes from, the Deep South, you probably don't even know it, Aliceville, Alabama.
If you think that eating healthy takes too much brain power, you're not crazy. The system's
That's where my grandparents are from. And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. And the fact that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy amidst, all these, systems, so to speak, and he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to, pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education. I was able to get my undergrad, my master's, that, the great-great-grandson of enslaved peoples can now say that, educated and can even run for Congress. I don't see how these systems are still in place as they were before, because before I would say you do have a little bit of a foothold. You do have some validity there. But I just think these days when we call it systemic racism, really what we're calling it is those people who may still be in those institutions, those individual people who may actually be racist and hold some racist ideals, who are continuing to perpetuate this. I believe it's those people. So in all reality, the problem is not the systemic racism. The problem is us. The problem starts.
The first nuanced opinion I've heard all day. Okay.
It's with those people who are perpetuating these, kind of, racist ideals. And so I feel like just to attack these systems is just, it's nonsensical.
Who's running the systems?
Like which system? You're talking about
whether
Congress,
whether it's the prison industrial complex. We're seeing this now with immigration and ICE. We're seeing this also with the effort at not making schools available for equal level of schooling available with the voucher systems that are now allowing tax dollars to allow people to go to segregated schools.
Right.
Who is controlling those systems? So for instance, in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you have a Senate and a House of Representatives that is largely controlled by white Republicans and that have actively said, we are not going to consider what the people want in our constituencies. We are going to simply just do what we want to do, to the point where they have removed.
So it's only in those states that have largely white legislators or largely white people are controlling these systems. I'm not trying to.
All right, guys, I'm so sorry. You haven't voted out. Please return.
Wow, the only good conversation happened. You vote them out, you motherfuckers. You motherfuckers. How dare you? Oh, how dare you? You animals.
Oh, Lord.
So to go back to your claim, you basically said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly said they are not in favor of what their people said.
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So for instance, like when it comes to like guns in the classroom, like the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are Black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman, Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right, actually, on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where 2 Black Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak. And that was interesting. And I found that really like insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you're exacting your personal ability, your personal choice through impediment of law change?
So if we're going to
like the person earlier said, it's just individual prejudices. It's not embedded into the system. These are inherently different things. And also at the same time, you got to recognize that the majority, the people voting in these people into power, you also have to look at those individuals, which is also the issue of the power of the majority, which is a problem in itself because we're seeing that manifest right now when it comes to MAGA. So it's not a system thing. I think they are trying to make it a system thing, especially for immigrants. Like, man, they're going to make it very tough for immigrants and Hispanics moving forward in America. But yeah, I do think it's I mean, I got everything I needed from this one. Let's go to this one.
Whether you're a professional,
I don't wanna know. Tell me.
I can't say, oh, well, my mother did it. Why can't you? Because
my mother was pregnant at 19 from the south side of Chicago with no degree and still made
good for your mom. But this is the thing.
So we can't do it.
It's not. The question isn't whether or not some people can do it. The question and the reality is that it is not available to everyone in an equal way.
And that's unfortunate, but we live in a broken society. I went to Nigeria and they're having the same problems, and there's a bunch of Black people that are running Nigeria.
It's a broken society.
But it's the same thing in Nigeria.
Nigeria is a broken society, whereas Burkina Faso is not. Burkina Faso is not. That's time. My final claim is Black conservatism fails to meet the needs of the working class.
Okay, talk to me. So I think Black conservatives, we're the ones who really want the best for working people. I think we're the ones, like a lot of the liberals, a lot of the leftists wanted to do things like office work. They wanted to go reparations, try to get things from the government and get handouts. We say, hey, go out there and work. Go out there.
Liberals don't advocate for this. Stop saying it. Stop lying. Leftists do. Liberals don't.
Get these jobs that are available. Work with your hands. Do skilled trades. That's where a lot of us talk about skilled trades. So working class, that's really a Black conservative thing, in my humble opinion.
I would beg to disagree. I think that would be true if Black conservatism also created pathways for people to get those jobs and also to be able to challenge the corporations that are using their labor, that are stealing from them and not impeding them from having a union. So for instance, like in the South, right? I just left North Carolina where I met with the USSW, the Union of Southern Service Workers. This is an unofficial union of individuals who work at places like Waffle House, at Food Lion, etc. And their unofficial union is unofficial because the conservatives in that state will not allow for them to be legitimized.
Legitimized. There you go. I got you.
It will not allow for them to be legitimized because then they would be able to push back legitimately on the corporations to get fair wages, right? So like someone was telling me in this organization that she was in Baltimore getting $15.25 as a minimum wage. And then when she moved just one state away, she was now only getting $7.25 for minimum wage, but the cost of living was the same for her. So when we talk about, the effort of saying, go out and get these jobs and get these trades, et cetera, I think that is valid. But I think that the impediments by leveling up corporations and by pouring into the effort of corporations to keep billionaires, as Black conservatives, you are actually cutting off the ability for those people to excel.
Okay, I understand your point, but a lot of us are more about being self-sufficient. So the South, a friend of mine down there, King Randall, has a school for boys. He's 22 years old. He has a bunch of kids living with him. He's teaching them physical skills they can do. Okay, being a mechanic, working on your car, working on your house, doing things with your hands. So you don't got to worry about corporations. You could be your own man. You could be your own woman. And also, didn't you also say earlier that you're against unions? But are you for them now?
I never said that.
Also, you're for unions.
Absolutely.
So when the unions keep Black folks out, you're for that as well? Because that's traditionally what they've done, keep Black folks out, correct?
Obviously, I am not for that. The reality is that unions have definitely in the beginning kept Black folks out. And the reason why they were keeping Black folks out is because after the Civil War, when there was Reconstruction, you had all these Black people that had been used with free labor and they had skills, right? Whether they were a blacksmith or a carpenter or whatever. However, they could not get jobs because the white people who now had to fend for themselves, if you will, because they didn't have slaves, they had to go and learn all these trades. Right. And so they actively kept Black people out of those jobs. And then what they would do is that when they would, as a union, say, we're going on strike, the Black people would be like, well, we'll work because they will let us in their union anyway. And then when they would go and actually get those jobs that the people were on strike for, they would hang them. They would lynch them. So yes, these are real things.
She is cooking. She's cooking.
Things that have taken place. But we keep having these conversations where we acknowledge the past when it's convenient, and then we only say in the present when it's convenient. So you can't simultaneously say, well, everybody's fine now and there's no systemic racism at the same time as stating that there are unions that are racist and unions that aren't racist. Ultimately, there is racism in the United States. It is deeply embedded. We have seen it in a myriad of examples, even just yesterday or today. And Black conservatives are working against the working class because they are actively placing their vision, their ideology of Black excellence in economics solely.
Well, there is
And in individual economics. And I think that's really the big difference of what we're talking about right now. You're talking about every man for themselves. Every man for themselves.
No, I don't say that.
Oh, you don't say that?
I say that we have to be individual as people, as Black people, but still get all of us on the same page. My friends at school, he's not just looking out for himself, looking for all these kids as well. So it's like, okay, I bring myself up and then bring everybody else up rather than relying upon the corporations and white people to lift this up. That's where we come from.
So I think there's a difference between relying on and acknowledging that there are impediments of. And I want to acknowledge the reality that we keep seeming to bump up against, which is that everybody has equal ability, and they don't. Everybody doesn't have the same impediments. So, for instance, I grew up with a single parent, not because...
Me too.
I grew up with a single parent, not because my father was some deadbeat that didn't have... My father has a MD from Harvard. My father has an MBA from Tufts.
My dad was a firefighter, so working class, conservative.
He just didn't want to be a parent. So when we talk about this whole idea of like, oh, the Blacks that are, you know, not...
But that's not a good thing. Him just not wanting to be a parent is not a good thing. That's like, I get what you're saying. It's not a good thing.
Doing the thing. It's not about necessarily what class you're in. It's literally just about, we live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't want to be a parent. We live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't need to be in cooperation with our community. And as far as I'm concerned, Black conservatives do not address the needs of the working class, which are fair access to resources, which are equal access to getting jobs, which are equal pay to the same access as others. And we don't.
Equal to who?
Equal to other states even. Like, there's no reality where you can say that the same amount of white people are working low wage jobs per capita as Black people. A lot of the reason is because there's such a disparate incarceration of Black people that it impedes their ability to get higher level education as well as higher level employment, because we know about disenfranchisement.
All right, there you go.
Windows Plus has the highest quality windows, doors, roofing, and gutters available. Call us or check us out online at windowspluscincinnati.com.
I don't want to know.
Hi, Layla. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I would actually argue that the Black working class is failing themselves. Wouldn't you agree that, you know, in order to get a job, in order to qualify for a certain position and an education system at a job, wouldn't you argue that it should be based off of qualifications and not your race or identity?
I've never argued that.
Oh my God.
You're saying that you would argue that it should be equal, right? So you're saying that there should be Black Americans in education systems, in jobs, but wouldn't you argue that they should be qualified for those positions and not just placed there because of their skin color?
I've never done.
Okay, she just doesn't understand how DEI works. Move on.
That's time. You've been voted out.
Thank you.
Please
At
return to
any
your
point.
seat.
Thank you.
Like, it got somewhat heated, but this has really been a pretty, I think, productive converse. No, productive is a stretch. I do think this is a more civil conversation than expected.
Back. So let's talk about facts. I just want to move back to systemic racism because you mentioned systemic racism earlier. I just want to look at 3 applications of systemic racism against white people and against East Asians as well. So, for example, we have the
Oh my God,
which defines affirmative action or even race-conscious
That's not the
admissions
prompt.
as taking
Talking about
race
Black
as one of the factors
conservatism.
whether or not you're going to admit a student. And we noticed that when race-conscious admissions was out of it,
She's talking about, okay. From the Black people as a community need to walk away from the Democratic Party. Yo, I swear to God, bro. I swear to God. We're gonna have a world where it's just a bunch of radicals running the country, and then we're just gonna devour ourselves. I swear. It's like it's oh my goodness. All right, bro. Well, that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I think there were some interesting, I think most of the opinions were like, there were like some truth, but a lot of over exaggeration or I'm be honest, like not over analysis. What's the term where you're applying so much of a logical foundation to reach a faulty argument? It's I don't know. I'm playing this while I'm doing this, so yeah. I mean, I'm not on either side, so let's look at the comments because sometimes the comments can be funny. A black radical is someone within their life. Oh, well, I'm not going to read her comment. Fuck. Jubilee CEO versus 20 critics next. Yeah, that would be interesting. We need Amanda Seals versus Candace. Oh, you know what? I would pay to watch that because I don't like either. Oh, I don't like Candace Owens. I disagree with like a lot of Amanda Seals, but I don't dislike Amanda. Like from this conversation, from what I've heard, I don't dislike her. Candace is still. This is still one of the worst type. That's what I'm saying. This is not one of the worst type. It's obviously it's a good type. The most obvious example of systemic race asking about your race on a job application. Yeah. They made the pregnant woman sit there knowing she couldn't sprint to a job. Yo, I'm dead. That shit was funny as fuck. Oh, he's spitting. He's so right, too. He's so right. They just be raising their flags when they want to speak. Facts. They need to modify. All right, Jubilee, listen to me. All right, I'm going to filibuster so I can finish this game. Do I want to go to the gym at 6:02? The gym closed at 7. 45-minute workout. I don't want to know. I don't want to play no more. I'm doing too much at once. All right. So Jubilee. Oh, let's read some more comments. I'm gonna fix this system, even though I have no idea how to fix it. I'm gonna come up with a answer in a second. This is the best comment, bro. This shit was funny as fuck. Bringing up problems and not addressing the root of the problem is the issue at hand. Yes, correct. Why do all black conservatives sound exactly the same? Key and Peele is not joking in that sketch. Okay, that was funny. Why do I torture myself with these videos? Stop watching it, you little fucking pussy. Stop watching the video. How about that? The guy who said white supremacy doesn't exist should watch the Jubilee. Yo, these comments are comedy. They're cooking. The best thing Amanda said is not to confuse the Black American experience in reality with that of the Black diaspora. The Black diaspora. I don't know what she meant by that. Yeah. Of course, this guy says this. So you see his face? Amanda and Candace Owen, I signed up for I'd sign up for that too. That shit would be amazing to watch. It would just be fucking hilarious to watch. I think Candace Owens had a fucking conversation with this one other black dude. I forget what his name was. I think it's something White. That shit was Cornell West. I think that's what it was. That shit was garbage. All right, Jubilee, listen to me. The 20v1 format. I've actually come on here, defended you because people were trying to demonetize you, deplatform you because they're sensitive little weenies. But I do think you should modify it a little bit in terms of the way the system works. I know it's put 20 flags up or put the majority of flags up and the person gets kicked out, but sometimes that could prevent a good conversation from happening. So I think what should happen is you put the flags up, and then when it's time for that person to leave, you ask the person doing the debate, go like, all right, do you want to finish up what you're saying? Do you want me to add one more minute? And max, you can add 1 more minute, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Like, give me 1 more minute, and they'll hop off. So you can wrap up the discussion. The person can say their final point, address what is being addressed, so it doesn't stop the conversation until it and allows it to come full circle. That is my suggestion. That is an amazing suggestion, Jubilee. If you take my suggestion, but just shout me out. Go like, Riddell, host of the Purple Political Breakdown, the greatest political podcast on planet Earth, had this great suggestion for Jubilee. You're welcome. That's all I got. You have a good one. Take care. Peace.